me record. Right, so this morning we're talking about cultivating and growing your sphere. Who can, you know me, you've already met me. I want you guys to talk to me. So tell me, what does that mean? What does it mean to cultivate and grow your sphere? I'll wait.
Network.
Okay, yep, it can. What's that mean though, Beth? Tell me what networking means to you.
Build relationships.
Build relationships. Great, Kevin. That's excellent. Beth, what does that mean?
Well, you sort of took the words out of my mouth, but reaching out to people and
Reaching out to people, talking to people. Networking is about human contact, okay? So why your sphere? So your sphere is the people who are in your circle, people that you know. So why your sphere?
Because they trust us already.
Doris and then Marnie.
I just said they know you, they've built a relationship with you, either their family or they're in your social circle.
Great. Marnie?
Yeah, just to piggyback on that they trust you, right? So you've already have built some credibility.
Great. So we have an expression in real estate, the people who know, like, and trust you. That's who your sphere is, the people who know, like, and trust you. Why is that important? Here's the big numbers. Write this down because I want you to concentrate this way. 74% of closed business for the average realtor, this is a national average, 74% comes from your sphere. Anybody want to guess how much comes from people who don't know you, don't like you, and don't yet trust you?
Under 5%.
Well under. Take a guess, Michael. Give me another number.
If I had to guess, I'd say probably like 1.
1 is the right number. Is that true for every single realtor?
Probably not.
No. So for me, my first year of business as a realtor, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have one person in my sphere who did business with me that first year. And I did a little over $2 million in my first year of business. My first 365 days. It wasn't a real estate January to January year. It was a 365. I started on February 2nd. So on February 1st, I closed just over $2.2 million. So I didn't know a single person. So if you're the me in the group and you're the weirdo who does business odd and does things differently, you may be able to do that. However, if you can spend time with your sphere, that's where most of your closed business is going to come from. So that's why this is so important. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify your sphere of influence. Who are they? Who are these people? We're going to create systems and processes to stay top of mind. We're going to build stronger client relationships and referral business. We're going to talk about becoming the local expert. A lot of people say they're the local expert and they have nothing. They are not an expert. They've lived in an area and they think that makes them a local expert. That isn't what elevates you to expert level. And they become the resource. We talked about that a lot on Monday. Being the resource, not the source, knowing people who can connect other people to real estate related businesses. Jen, did you want to say something?
Are you on your PowerPoint yet?
Oh yeah, did I not share?
Not sure.
I'm really bad at two things, guys, so you guys can catch me. I'm really bad at recording and I'm really bad at sharing my screen. So, because I can see it, so can't you? So if I'm talking about something, you can't see it, just speak up. All right, where'd you all go? Let's get this over here. Let's get this back over here. Thanks, Jen. So, okay, so those were your objectives. And I did just have Natalie's working on sending this out to you so you guys can make notes on it. So cultivating and growing your sphere is about building and maintaining client relationships. It's the heart of the business. If you can't meet in person, learn how to use these online programs, learn how to use Zoom, learn how to use FaceTime, learn how to use any way that you can actually see a person's face. I talked about this on day one. When I am, if I could get my mouse and my everything to work together here, if I am this and I'm talking to someone on the phone and I'm delivering bad news, if you have to rely on my tone of voice, yes, that's fine. I understand what you're saying, is a lot different than, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. You can see things in someone's face, even over this medium. So you have to get used to try to find opportunity to be with someone, even if it's in this weird new world. We have to adapt, and the people who adapted are doing phenomenally well. For example, there's an office in my area. I know 2 women who've been in the business the same amount of time, just about 5 years. One of those women said her business went into the toilet this year because, of course, nobody wanted to list and nobody wanted to be going out and looking at houses and going into other people's houses. She did under $1 million for the first time in a few years. The other one said, oh boy, I have to learn how to use Zoom. I have to learn how to do virtual open houses. I have to learn how to be safe. I have to carry masks and sanitizing and gloves and all of these things with me to make everybody safe and buy a bunch of booties and do these things. You want to know how much business she closed this year? Oh, just over $10 million. Same office, same amount of time in the business. One person made a decision to work the business. One person made the decision that her clients weren't going to do business. It was all about the attitude. Do you guys get that? It really is about you. If you think it can work, they think it can work. If you think it won't work, you convey that. If you're, I don't want to go out and be in other people's homes or expose myself to COVID, but there are safe ways to do it. And there was a while we weren't allowed to do anything. I had a final walkthrough. I'm sitting in a car a mile away because I wasn't allowed to be at the house. A mile away, waiting while my clients are walking through a house, using their phone and photographing the house as they walked through. So if there was a problem, they were going to drive a half a mile away, park in a parking lot. I would have gone to the house, wiped everything down, gone through and found out what the problem was. Fortunately, there weren't any problems, thank goodness. But I wasn't allowed to even sit in my car outside in the driveway. New York State, at that moment, it was a violation. So we figured it out. So I want you to keep in mind that we are in a different time. So different. So Jen talked about this the other day. Dress professionally, make sure your space is tidy, quiet, and smile. Why does that make a difference if I'm talking to a client on the phone and they can't see me? Or even if they can only see my head, why does it make a difference?
Because you can tell in a person's voice if they're smiling.
Right. So there's something else I want you to do. So all of you say in your seats right now, I want to say good morning out loud.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, now
Morning.
all of you stand up and say good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Good morning.
All right, all of you sit down and say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, now
morning.
all of you stand up and say good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good
What do
morning.
you notice about the standing voice over the sitting voice?
More enthusiastic.
It is. So how do I want you to make your phone calls?
Standing.
On your feet. Get on your feet, because it sounds better. We say, hey, good morning, Paul. This is Maggie Knapp. I'm calling from Howard, Indiana. How are you today? Then, hi, Paul. This is Maggie. I've already set a tone. if you're up and energized and dressed and ready to go, your teeth are brushed, you've fed yourself, if you do a morning exercise, you've done that, if you're ready to go, they hear it. And guess what? Do you respond to a positive attitude? I lived in Olean for a while, and there was this woman who ran all of these programs for homeless people and shelters, and she was just this incredible human being. And every time you would see her, her name was it Stephanie, I think. And you'd say, "Good morning, Stephanie, how are you?" She goes, "I'm stupendous, fantastic, marvelous, and outstanding. How are you?" And she always had this group of adjectives, positive adjectives to describe how she was. She never said, "I'm good." It was 5 or 6 always. And so you'd love to see her coming because you're like, what's she going to say today? What is she going to say today? And it was always positive, made you feel good. Just to see her made you feel good. You can be that. Check in with your clients. How are they? Right now, you have never had a better excuse to call people up. Call them up and say, "Hey, Michelle, this is Maggie Knapp. How are you? How you doing with COVID? How's your family? Are you working? Are you going to an office? Is everybody safe? Do you have an elderly family member or somebody in a hospital that needs a card or a note?" Talk to them about them. Eventually, it'll come back to business. Take notes and be present. So take notes about what's going on in their life. Why? Because Marnie, if I call you up and you tell me next month you're going to your sister's wedding, but it's going to be virtual, I can call you up next month and say, "How did that go? How was the wedding?" I don't have to say anything about real estate. But if I'm top of mind and I'm a person who's interested in her life, guess what? If I'm keeping notes and I'm keeping track, I become interested in her life. I become more interested in her. We build that relationship we were talking about. So it's really important. So anybody ever heard of Ford with regard to interviews and talking to people, conversations? Nobody?
No.
Okay. So Ford is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. These are the topics that people want to talk about. What's the number one thing people want to talk about?
Family?
Family.
Family.
Nope.
Themselves,
Yeah, there you go. Who said that?
Kevin.
Kevin. That's exactly right. They want to talk about themselves. Most sentences begin with the word I. It's a very difficult thing to turn that around. And it's a really good thing for someone who's in a sales or sales related field or a customer relationship field to turn that around and ask about you and them. Try not to use I too often. It's off-putting. But people want to talk about themselves, and what's important to them in their lives is their family, what they do for a living, what things they like to do, what their hobbies are, and what their dreams are. So Johan, what's a dream? If you had all the money, all the time, and no barriers, what would you do?
If I had all the money, then I would use all my real estate knowledge to buy myself a house that is made only of glass that would never get too hot. I don't know if it's been invented, but I'll pay for it, right?
Yeah, there are some. There are some. There's some beautiful ones, especially out in the West. There are some beautiful prairie style houses that are like that. There is an all glass house. You can look it up. They're beautiful. They're gorgeous. I would not want to live in an all glass house myself, but I have 3 floors of windows on the back wall of my house. And it's quite spectacular. 2 floors are open to the ceiling. So it's cool.
That's wonderful.
So Ford, understanding your clients' goals, their dreams, help you better serve their needs. How does it help you better serve their needs?
You can anticipate what they'll need if you know them better.
Yeah. You can anticipate. You can also anticipate how they're going to feel about something. But remember, you're a cab driver. You are a cab driver. They tell us where we're going. We don't make decisions for them. When we start making decisions for them based on what we think we know and understand, you're going to be wrong. When I was selling cars, I had a couple come in who lived in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, which is up in the mountains. It's in the middle of literal nowhere. They owned a sheep farm, muddy, dirty sheep farm. To get to the Northeast Kingdom, you are not driving on highways. For a while you are, and then you're on dirt roads. They wanted to drive a Prius. Their daughter was getting married in 3 months. They happened to be in South Burlington, which is a couple hours away. They stopped by the dealership, said, we want to drive a Prius 3. I had one on the lot. It was white. They drove it. They said, thanks so much. We're going to leave. I said, take it to lunch. Take it with you. Go to lunch and bring it back after. So they did. When I met them, they said, we're not buying a car today. We would never, ever buy a white car because we live on a sheep farm. We wouldn't do this. We wouldn't do that. We're not going to do this. It was a long list of things they're not going to do. At lunch, they decided they not only wanted to buy a Prius, they wanted to buy that white Prius that day. They had called their banker to transfer funds to the dealership before they ever came back from lunch. So never decide you know what a client's going to do. You're going to hear this expression, buyers are liars. It's not meant to be as derogatory as it sounds. They don't always know. So buyers become liars because what they tell you, they don't know yet because they haven't experienced that house, that car, that shirt, that's whatever, that experience, and something changes. And it can change on a dime. I live in a house that costs much more money than I said I would spend. We could afford it. I just didn't want to until I saw it. And then it was, okay, well, that's the house I live in currently today. So never make decisions for people. And besides that, it becomes a fair housing violation because you could be then steering them and you can't do that. Demonstrate you care, that you are listening. By listening to these family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, taking notes and checking back in with someone. Has anyone ever written a hand letter and then someone else writes to you back? What you're supposed to do is answer the questions or comment on the things that they told you. That's how letters used to be written. You'd get a story. You'd respond to that story and you'd add a little bit and it would keep going. It's a wonderful thing. So if any of you have experienced that in your life, we don't do that so much anymore in any of the mediums that we have, but that's how it's supposed to work. That's how these communications should work. They tell you a little bit, you respond to that. You keep that conversation going. So there's continuity over time. Does that make sense? And then you get to really know people in a meaningful way. It's not a superficial relationship. It's a deep relationship. The deeper those relationships are, guess what? The more referrals you get. Why? Because you're taking care of them as a human being and as a client. Does that make sense? This is a great business if you like people. If you like people, you care about people, you care about people's successes, their failures, their happiness, that the sad things that happen in life. If you care about a fully rounded person, you're going to love this business because you're going to get to know people in a much more meaningful way than in most other careers. Add client notes to Engage CRM. Excuse me, and I'm going to show you Engage later. Update your client's information every time you talk to them. Ask them if anything's changed. Phone number, email, address the same, unless it was 2 days ago. But if it's months, just make sure everything's up to date. Wait, I want to go back for one. Watch this Hannah You video, Ninja 106, Stop Selling. It's a great little, I think it's 6 or 7 minutes. It's in Hannah You, it's on your Go Hannah dashboard. This is a great little tip. Ninja's fabulous. Identify your sphere, write out your wedding list. So by that we mean, who are the 250 people you'd invite to your wedding if money were no object? Who would your mom invite? Who would your sister invite? Who would your husband and his family invite? If the money were no object, who would you invite? If that list grows to 500, all the better. But try to get 250 people. Think about everyone. And then ask other people in your family. If I was having a wedding and I was going to invite, I could invite anybody I wanted, who would you invite? I know when I was having my wedding, we had 50 people, including my husband and I kept having to tell my mother and my mother-in-law, no, just because you went to her daughter's wedding 30 years ago, they're not coming to mine. I don't know this person. So, but in this case, okay, write that name down, okay? So who do you know? So this is you. Who do you know? Who do they know? So I know this guy in green. They know this person. They know that person. So when I'm talking to Shauna, who do you know? Oh, I know Christopher and I know Cheryl. Great. Are they either of them in the market for housing? Oh yeah, I think Chris is getting married next year, so he might be looking for a house. And Cheryl said her mom is looking to downsize. Okay, so now I went from Shauna to Christopher to Cheryl and Cheryl's mom. Do you see how that works? And I'm not just saying, and I learned this from a previous broker, and I never do this. I did it a couple of times because I was taught to do it. Hey, Jens, this is Maggie Knapp from Howard Hanna. How are you? Play with me. Put on your mic, Jens.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. This is a business call. You got a minute?
Yeah, hang on. I stand up and talk.
Great. This is a business call. You got a second?
Yes, of course.
Do you know anybody who's in the market to buy, sell, or invest in real estate?
I might. A friend of mine.
Most people that I talked to that were actual friends were like, what the hell is this? So this is how I do it now. Justin, turn on your mic. So, hi, Justin, this is Maggie Knapp. How are you?
I'm pretty good, Maggie. How you doing today?
I'm good. We worked together like 3 or 4 years ago at XYZ Company. Do you remember me?
I do. How you doing? I'm
good. I'm just going through my my database of friends and family, people I've ever worked with, and just saying hello. How are you? How are you doing during COVID?
It's been tough making a lot of adjustments everywhere. How about you?
I'm good. I started another career though while I was doing this. I went into real estate, and you know, it's different. Everything's so different right now.
Oh yeah. So what kind of precautions are they taking?
Oh, it's actually there's quite a lot, and we've learned to get really safe. So we use Zoom a lot. We wear our masks. We got to take sanitizer. I got gloves. I got booties. You know, but I can do an open house virtually. It's kind of cool, the changes. But you know, we adapted. So what are you doing these days?
Oh, nothing much.
Who am I going to continue to have a conversation with, Jens or Justin? Justin. I saw Marnie move her lips.
Yep.
Do you see the difference in the feel of that conversation? And I told him what I was doing, right? I don't have to jam it down his throat. I just have to let him know what I'm doing. And at the end of the conversation, I say, hey, Justin, do you need anything? Do you have anyone in your family that needs anything? Like, do you need letters written? Do you need somebody need a meal dropped off just so they know somebody else is out there, somebody living alone? Do you have a young person? My son, who's 38, is not married, does not have a significant other. He lives alone and he's really social. It's been really hard on him. So, it would have been great if somebody said, you want me to drop him a note or a card or just call him up and say hi, introduce myself. That would be awesome. He could use more friends right now. People who are in nursing homes could use a card or a note or a letter. Doesn't have to be from somebody they know, just a note saying, hi, how are you? I'm a friend of your daughter's, and she said that you're living over here, and I just want to say hi and let you know if you have another friend if you want one. How hard is that? Cost you less than $1. So think about who can you reach and how can you reach them and how can you build a relationship while you're doing it. Does that make sense? Whenever we talk, this is going to be what I talk about most of the time. So who have you met? There's a chart. Neighbors, schools, doctors, coworkers, friends, family, service providers, real estate vendors. So I love this call. New agents are afraid to pick up the phone and call the people who already know, like, and trust them. Here's a great sideline to get you started. As realtors, you need to be a resource. So as a resource, you need to know the sources. So who do you know that's an electrician, a plumber, a roofer, a painter, a carpenter, a contractor, a handyman, a landscaper, works in healthcare? Who do you know? Who's a veterinarian? Who's a groomer? Who's a good hairdresser? Who's a good barber, an actual barber who can do a straight edge razor shave? When I say barber, I mean a barber, because they have them. Every community has them somewhere. Who do you know? You are never not looking, excuse me, for vendors. Excuse me for 1 second. Seem to have swallowed a frog today. Anyway, so who do you know? Then call the first vendor. Who do you know is a loan officer, an attorney? Call these people. If you can and it's safe, meet with these people. Ask them if they, and then vet them. First, work with people that you know, like, and trust. Work with the people your family know, like, and trust. Ask your friends who they know, like, and trust, who have done work for them. And then ask them if you can share their name and they can share yours. Create business to business relationships. So now let me ask you this. Where do vendors live? What do they live in?
Houses.
Right. What do their colleagues live in?
Houses.
What do their friends and family live in?
Houses.
There's a trend here, right? So if I meet a vendor, they become a prospect. If I create a business to business relationship with them, they become part of my sphere. Do not put people in your sphere as a vendor who are not good at their job. If you are a resource, be a resource for good people. Make sure somebody knows about their work. Google them too and look at their reviews. Did you just see how your business just doubled? And you became a better realtor because you have these sources. You've got a list. You have your list. Does that make sense?
Hey Maggie, this is Tim.
Yep.
What do you consider a good referral? Like how many other clients you could possibly get from that one person? What is considered a good referral?
It should be endless. It should be almost endless. So let me give you an example from my previous career. When I was a massage therapist for 10 years, owned my own business. I ran a coupon special, buy one, get one free. And I ran it on a flyer through a local season ticket holders to a sporting team. A big one, because I had an in there. So I ran a flyer, I sent it out, and I met Mary Ann's husband, Ken, bought a gift certificate at 50% off for Mary Ann. Mary Ann came in, loved her massage, and said, this is the gift that's going to keep on giving. And then she immediately bought herself a buy 5, get 6 1 free packet from me. So there were 6 massages I got at a slightly discounted price. Mary Ann then brought in Ken, her husband. Then she brought in her son, her daughter. She brought in her sister-in-law, her husband. She brought in her boss and her husband. She brought in her other boss and his husband, and they all brought other people. I had a bunch of Mary Ann's. I had 5 or 6 of them. They built my business for me. Mary Ann was also the member of a very renowned country club in my area where the wealthiest of the wealthy go. And I began to accumulate clients from that country club. And I remember the day that I had made it in my eyes as far as my business. one of the attorneys who was a member there said, last night your name came up in the dining room. I said, really? How so? Said, somebody said, God, my neck is killing me. Does anybody know a good massage therapist? He said, 5 of us stood up and we all had your card. I was like, yes. Dun, 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 dun. You know, I felt like Rocky. In real estate, it's the same thing. You want to have 5 people in the room stand up and they have all got your card. And that guy did come in and he was another person, but it just kept going. So real estate is never about a transaction. It should be about that transaction, that transaction, that transaction. It leads and leads and leads and leads and leads. And it's forever. It's infinite. So I mean that sincerely. There's no number on that, because every referral should lead to another referral. Which, by the way, that girl that did the 10 million, that's exactly how her business built. She was so great at her business. Everybody she talked to referred them to everybody they knew. Oh, you got to work with my realtor. She's the best. That's how they feel about her. She's the best. And guess what? Her friends believe her. So not Mets. So those vendors were not Mets. Where can you build relationships? It's really hard right now, but it's not impossible. So how can you meet people that you don't know right now? Are there networking groups that are working virtually? How about chambers of commerce?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Chambers of commerce, remember, everybody there is doing exactly what you're doing. They are all there to meet other people in business, to pass those cards back and forth. Realtors are really afraid of chambers of commerce. Chamber of Commerce is a great way to learn about your community.
So I've always thought that.
Pardon me?
I've always thought that was actually a goal of mine, to get more involved in the government, community agencies, community commerce, things like that.
Yeah, going to town hall meetings, finding out what's going on with the planning meetings. You being a realtor, being at those places is
Putting little
very, very good.
fundraisers and stuff like that.
Yep, all of that stuff. Go to the fun stuff, go to the business stuff. It's all important, because if you're going to the planning meetings, somebody's building a house and you say, well, you know, they're going to be they're building the jail behind you next year. If you know that ahead of time, you become a little more valuable. So community groups, friends and family of friends, and referrals. It's endless. Who don't you know? How can you get to know them? You have to be asking yourself all the time. One of the other things you're gonna hear us say quite a lot is not to be, hang on, where is it? We don't want you to be, where is it? A secret agent. Wear your Howard Hanna t-shirts, wear your Howard Hanna gear, wear your name tag. If they don't know who you are, they don't know what you do for a work, they don't know you.
With your personal Facebook website, what are the rules of promoting Howard Hanna?
So the rules for Facebook, and we're going to get into this on another day, but I'm just going to give you a brief little synopsis. You got to have a Facebook business page. Yeah. All business related items, anything about an open house, a closing, real estate articles, anything about real estate has to go on your business page first, and then can be shared to your personal page. And we are going to talk a lot about social media and the content and how much of this and how much of that you should be putting on. But in the meantime, you must, in New York State, you must have a Facebook business page. It takes 5 minutes to create, because it has your logo, your office phone number, your office address, and it's vetted before it goes live. It takes a few minutes or sometimes a few hours for that to go live. All business must be on there first, and then it gets shared. When it gets shared, all of that information comes with it.
So on my personal business account page, for, let's say, for my, not my profile photo, but my cover photo, can I use a Howard Hanna logo
On
Okay.
your business page, we have Facebook covers available in Howard Hanna. Again, we'll talk about social media on a different day. That's going to take us down the wrong track today. That's okay. It's a good question and it's fair. And I don't want to not answer your question, but I don't want to go in depth right now. So contact your sphere. Each week, send out a handwritten note to 10 people in your sphere. Thank you. It was nice to meet you. Birthday, holiday, anniversary, condolence, happy Groundhog Day. Doesn't matter. It would be for an occasion, it'd be for no occasion. Again, when I was selling cards, everybody send out Christmas cards. So I sent out Groundhog Day cards. I drew a groundhog dressing up in a tuxedo, standing in front of a cheval mirror, and then I printed them on cards and I sent out Groundhog Day, happy Groundhog Day. I sent out Flag Day cards. I picked weird holidays and I sent out cards on those days. You can do that on social media. You can do that in print. Each week, follow up with the 10 people you called last week. Were you handwritten a note? Hey, I sent you a card last week. How you doing? Just want to say hi in person. Make sure their information is up to date. Make sure everything's current. Championship level. Okay, you want to do $1 million, $1.5 million your first year? Do the 10. You want to be a champion? 70. This is called your daily sevens. This was created by Howard Hanna Jr., Bop, Grandpa. Howard Hanna, the first as far as the company is concerned. He's the founder. He worked this program, the daily sevens. The daily sevens work. People who do the daily sevens have big, robust businesses. Why? Because they got out of their own way, they got over their fear, and they just find people to contact. So you can be an agent and be successful and do $1 million, $1.5 million, or you can be a champion and you can make some real money.
I have a question. When you say 70 in a week?
Yeah, 70 in a week.
70 in a week.
Yep, that's what I mean. It's big numbers.
I have a question.
Yep.
When you're sending out handwritten notes or whatnot, can you send it on a Howard Hanna copyhead letter?
Sure.
Awesome.
And if you guys have questions about that, go back to your managers and ask. But sure, of course you can. So 7 prospects a day, 7 sellers and 7 buyers every day. So that's 14 people. So that's 70 a week, 7 a day. It sounds huge, I know. So if you were to do 7 a day, what do you have to be doing? How are you going to get that many people? Where are you going to find that many people? Because you're quick. Go ahead.
Making new connections to have more people, so you're not bombarding the same people every week.
Yeah, it's not about bombarding the same people over and over again. It is about building, 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 and getting over being afraid of the word no. When I was 18 years old, I sold life insurance. I'm sorry to say it was terrifying, door to door. I worked for this company called Combined Life of New York. I went to Combined Life for one reason and one reason only. I wanted to get my insurance license, I thought. I hated it, as it turns out. And they had the best training in the state. They had the worst sales program, but the best training. I went to Albany for 5 weeks and had sales training for 5 weeks. So I did that. My commitment was that to get that training, I had to do this door-to-door thing for 3 months minimum. You signed a contract. Otherwise, you had to pay them back for that training. There's no way I could have afforded it. Put us up in a hotel in Albany for 5 weeks. And you hear the word no a lot when you're selling insurance door-to-door. You know what the best thing about that was? I found out it wasn't the end of the world. And I found out that most people were pretty friendly. Like, no, I don't really want that, but thanks for stopping by, but please go away now. But, I also had some of the most fun, most memorable experiences of my life doing that. And so I had to get over my fear, and boy, was that a good one to do it. So this is nothing compared to that. This is, there's a Hannah U video. The number is BP 105. It's a top producer tips, 5 daily musts for success. This is a great video. That's in Hannah U. By the way, when you're putting them in and you're looking in the search, just type in BP 105, no hyphen, and it'll pop right up. Just do the letters and whatever the number is. Never put the hyphen in. The hyphen screws it up for some reason. You don't have to put any of the other stuff in if you just have these little codes. Add contacts to engage. So you want to start adding people to engage one at a time. What's the name of the program I just told you?
Engage.
Engage. So why was it named Engage?
So
To engage.
There you go. Does anyone know what CRM stands for?
Customer relations management.
Close. Customer relationship management.
Yeah. Okay.
Very close, Peter. Very close. Customer relationship management. So people think they get a CRM and they don't have to do their hard work anymore. It's going to do everything for me. It's all going to be automated. What's the name of the program of our CRM? Engage. So how do you make the CRM work?
Fill it in.
By engaging with the clients, by building those relationships, customer relationship management, not data dumping. You can do that with an Excel doc. All you need is data. That's an Excel document. This only works because you engage. And it's not about just the drip campaigns. Who doesn't know what a drip campaign is? It's okay if you don't. All right.
I have.
So a drip campaign is, so you are dripping things on a client. I'm going to send them a little email that tells them about how to clean up their house in the springtime. I'm going to send them a little postcard that says, Happy Groundhog Day. Those are dripping on the client to stay top of mind. Will those set you apart?
Probably.
No, they won't set you apart. They're just tweaks, right? They're just little taps on the shoulder. Hi, I'm here. Hi, I'm here. What will set you apart, Jens?
Probably calling them or have more personal connection.
Personal connection. That will set you apart. Lots of people are sending them lots of stuff all the time. Junk, crap. Does that mean you shouldn't be dripping on them? No. If you're building the relationship, now they start to look at these things. Now they start to make a connection to you. When all you do is drip on them, that's annoying. It's like, you ever stood somewhere and there's a drop of water keeps hitting you in the head, the shoulder, it starts to bug you. You don't want it to just be that. You want that relationship to go with it. Does that make sense to everybody? You all get that? So
Oh, yeah.
Customer relationship management is about engaging with clients. Ours is called Engage for a reason. It's about getting together, knowing your clients. Don't forget service providers, dentists, opticians, sports teams, hairstylists, your kids in theater, they're in music, they're in sports, they're in dance, they're in gymnastics. Who do you know? Who are the parents? There's a guy in my area, not from our company. He's a big into local soccer for the kids. He's been involved for 20 years. I think his kids are all grown, but he still goes to almost all the games. Years ago, he bought 25 chairs with his company name and his name on the back. Before the games start, he goes on the field and he sets up the chairs along the sideline, and everybody sees his name. Do they remember him because he's there every day, or because his chairs are there? Both, Marnie says. Yeah, because he's there, the chairs start to connect. Because they know him as a human being and they like him and they respect him, the name sticks out because they see it. It was a really good investment he made. There are folding chairs. He just goes and he sets them all up. It's a great idea. So what kinds of things can you do? He's the only person I know who's doing it. I've mentioned this story, I don't know how many times. I think it's great. It's just smart. It's just a really simple, smart way. So what can you be doing? So you're going to get these slides. These are some people for you to be thinking about. Become the local expert. So you thought 7 a day, notes and phone calls to both buyers and prospects for champions is a big deal. I want you guys to be seeing, whether in person or virtually, 10 homes a week, 2 a day. This is your field of expertise. You need to know every home that's on the market where you are working. Where is your desired spot? Okay, now here's a problem a lot of new realtors have. They think they have to know a 6-county area on day one. You can't. Pick where you want to be. Pick an actual spot on a map. Pick an address. Work out within a mile. What's everything that's for sale within that mile? Who's every vendor in that mile? Get to know everybody you can. What's every school in that mile? Where are the grocery stores? Where's the veterinarian? Where's the hospital? Where's the emergent care? Find everything you can within that mile and then move out. If you are seeing 10 homes a day or 10 homes a week, champion levels 15. If you're seeing 15 homes a week, guess what? When Max says to me, hey, you want to list my house? You know, my neighbor, they sold their house 3 months, a couple months ago, and they got this amount of money. I want to say, oh, you mean the Richter house? Oh, yeah, the green one up the street. Yeah, that's a really nice house. I was in it when they were selling it. One of the things that was really nice about it was the kitchen was redone. Elevates me from, oh, was it? Did it? I didn't see that one. Or I go to Fred's and he says, well, what about the house that's for sale right now, just around the corner? Oh, is there a house for sale around the corner? You're not a professional. Yes, who had a question?
Me, a quick question. So are you saying that, and this might sound stupid, we should just, if the houses are for sale, we should just walk in and go check out the house, 10 houses a week?
If you have open houses, yes, you can go in and check them out. You may have to stand in line right now.
Oh, that makes sense. Is that what you're saying right here?
Yeah, but you can also be making appointments. You can call up a realtor and I can say, hey, Jacob, this is Maggie Knapp from Howard Hanna. I'd like to preview your listing at 123 Maple Street. Can I do that? He may say to me, especially right now with COVID, do you have a buyer? I don't, but I'd like to see the house and I'd like to take the information back to my office. And he'd say, no, I'm only letting in qualified buyers right now. Great. Do you have a visual tour available? Do you have a virtual tour? Yeah, I do. I got one posted right on the MLS. Great. I'll look at that. Are you going to have any open houses that I could attend? Yeah, I'm planning one for Saturday. Great. I'm going to come in and see it and I'll introduce myself. Thanks so much. Don't push them. Don't tell them they have to. They don't have to. They don't have to let you in. There's another trick I can do. I can say, is anyone else scheduled that I could piggyback on? Yeah, I got a buyer coming in Saturday at 1 o'clock. Can I come in right after them? How long are they scheduled for? They're going to be there for about 30 minutes, they said. Can I come in right at 1:30? I'll take 5 minutes, just run right through the house. Yeah, you can do that. Why? Because it's not inconvenient to their seller, because they're already opened. They're already clean. They're already ready to go. Does that make sense?
Should we do that? Or like, what if we just book a meeting on the showing time? Can we do that as well? Or
You can do that also. If they've got showing time and you don't even have to interact with them, yeah, go ahead.
I just didn't know if it's kind of like wrong to go through and book that.
And Paul, in your case, go ask Kathy. Who's Kathy? I bet somebody knows. Doesn't matter. Not looking for her last name. Who is Kathy to Paul is in this business? It's the person I'm always going to point you back to. Go ahead, Tim. Say it out loud.
His manager?
Yeah, that's right. Kathy's his manager. So always, if you don't know, go ask your manager, because the culture could be different in different neighborhoods. But yes, I would say if it's showing time and they're not asking, go ahead, book it. Book it, Dano.
Okay.
Go see them. Take notes on the house. I created an Excel document, which I'm sending you, to what's the list price. Eventually find out what the sold price is. Find out what need updating. Make your own notes. What did you like about the house? What didn't you like about the house? What were the features? What were not? Why? This becomes what I call a speak easy sheet. And you can talk really quickly about the house. So if I'm at an open house, I have a speakeasy sheet on every house within a couple of streets. And I'll say, oh yeah, Maple Street. Yeah, this got this, and this. I've just got some notes. So and they'll say, well, what about the one over on Town Street? Oh yeah, that one, that's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's got a beautiful backyard. And I can speak on it. Doesn't matter if it's my listing. Do you understand how this starts to help you, elevate you, push you up? Okay. Find out what the current taxes are. Find out what the assessments are. Where do you get that? Tax records. If you don't know how to get to your tax records, talk to your manager. What would you do differently from the listing agent? Would you price it higher? Would you have had your open house longer, shorter, more of them, different day, different time? Right now, with virtual open houses, guess what? You can have them any time of the day or night you want. Twilight opens are beautiful things. Having them from 5 to 7. When we're open in the world again, twilight opens from 5 to 7 with some snacks and candles lit is a beautiful thing. Really nice. So you can have, and I think things are going to change. They're not just limited to Saturdays and Sundays anymore. Create a comparative market analysis. This is the most intimidating thing, I think, for a new agent, is pricing a home. So practice. Create a CMA on your home and a home you know really, really well. Practice doing a CMA in a home in a neighborhood that you want to list in. Use real property portals, that's what they call them, from the tax record to find out all the information. Survey maps, flood zones, permits, and more. Practice with homes that are in good condition, fair condition, as is condition, because those are all going to be different. Discuss your results with your manager. Do a CMA, talk to your manager. Maybe they'll sit down with you to do your first one, or give you, direct you to somebody to help you with it. You can do it on anything. You can do as many CMAs as you want. The more you do, the better. Then check them out with other people and say, what do you think about the price I came up with? You think I did okay? They might say, well, you're 40,000 high and here's why. They might say, good job, right on the money, right on the money. So you practice a CMA.
Maggie, do you recommend a certain program to do a CMA with? I've done a couple now in RPR and I'm not 100% happy with it.
Yeah, Hannah Presentations.
Okay.
RPR is one. Realist is one. You can use the MLS. When I was a new agent, I did one in the MLS. I did one in RPR. I did one in Realist. We didn't have Hannah Presentations then. I did one in everyone and I compared them. I did them all over the place. I practiced on my CMAs. I advise you to practice anywhere you can and see what tools work best for you. Does that help?
I have a question.
Doris,
So let's
go ahead.
say we did one in the Realist, one in MLS, one in Hannah Presentations. And if you were off by a small number, does that tell you you were pretty much on target? If you did a comparison, I'm just curious.
Yeah, it will. If you're coming up with and there's going to be some things that don't change. The average price per square foot, if you're looking at the right factors, it should be pretty close. So what is a good price for property? It's fair market value for that style of house with that number of bedrooms and bathrooms on that size lot, minus or plus condition and updates. So if it's in excellent condition, it's going to be at the high end. If it's in fair condition, it's going to be at the low end of that average. So if I get a price of $250,000 on a house that's got a brand new kitchen, a new roof, and good utilities. And I've got a house 3 doors down that has a 22-year-old roof, a 10-year-old furnace, and a 1980s kitchen. Those are not the same. That's an apple and a kumquat. So make sure your fruit matches. But you're going to find in a neighborhood, you've all watched Fixer Upper, buy the worst house in the best neighborhood. They buy them for half the price and they put a tremendous amount of money into them to bring them up to the value of the street. You're going to become experts. You can't become an expert if you don't practice at this. Anybody ever learn how to walk? Okay. So anyone recently watch a baby learn how to walk? A toddler? What do they do when they're learning?
They stumble.
They
They
crawl.
wobble.
They fall down. They bang themselves up. I can still remember, and it's been a long time since my kids were toddlers, being afraid to have people see my children around, you know, that walking age, because they had bangs on their head, they had bruises on their arms and legs. They just kept getting up and doing it over and over again. You're all toddlers. You're going to get some bangs and bruises going. It's okay. You have a whole team of people to help you. Just like a toddler has mom and dad close by with their hands out, ready to catch you, but they got to let you fall. They got to let you fall. We have to let you fall a little bit. We're there. We're there to help you, pick you up. Don't think too much in the dark. Don't do anything alone. Let people know what you're doing and when you're doing it with clients so that you can get stronger and better at it. You're not going to learn how to walk in real estate until you get bumped up and you try some things. You're going to have to try some things and you're going to have to fail forward. Does that make sense? Is that overwhelmingly scary to anyone? Like, I don't know if I can do that. It's okay if it is. Anyone totally overwhelmed and is afraid to try? If you are, you got to get over that. You got to get over it. You have to push through that wall. So you're going to fall down. You're going to make some mistakes. But if you are not working completely on your own and you're letting your manager know what you're doing, they're going to be able to help you before you get in trouble. So do that. Okay. Get your manager involved. Let them know what you're doing. How many of you, show me, show of hands. How many of you called your manager to let them know you started Fast Start? How many of you called with good news? Good, great. I really want you to be connecting with them and letting them know what you're doing so they know you're working your business and you're trying to get to be the expert. Okay, create a social media calendar, stay up to date on real estate trends, and be yourself when you're posting. Don't be an imposter. You know, when you're posting, you got to be genuine and true to yourself. You also have to be neutral and you have to be fair. You have to abide by fair housing. You have to be positive. There's a realtor that I know of who loves to post every negative thing that happens in real estate. I've seen him post about attorneys, bankers, other realtors, and he doesn't use their names, but he just rants about the terrible experience. Anybody want to take a stab at how I feel about that?
Not very well.
I do not feel very positive, and I have reached out to this agent and said, knock it off. It's unprofessional and unbecoming. Does he do it? No, he does what he wants to do. I think it's a tremendous mistake, and I think that as long as he continues to do that, he's going to have negative experiences because what you put out, you get back. What you put out, you get back.
Agreed.
If you put out positive and happy and good, you get back positive and happy and good. If you put out negative, look at the world right now. Last week was an explosion of negative. It was heartbreaking. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. It was heartbreaking to see people be violent and angry and hostile to that level. we can't even entertain becoming that kind of force. We have to be the absolute exact opposite. We have to have that same amount of energy all going toward good. And that's going to build your business. That's going to build your life. That's going to build the lives of the people around you. And it's going to build the lives of the people you're working with. Hopefully you all agree with me about that. If you don't, you're right. But I really believe that if you put out good, you get good. If you put out positive, you get positive. And just rise above. I love when Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. I think that's a great thing for life. Just when people go low, and people will go low, just go high. I worked with a person who was miserable. She worked when I was a massage therapist, she worked for me. And she suddenly turned into this nasty person. I mean, literally, it was like a light switch. She went from being a decent person to an awful person, like in a minute. After working for me for like 2 years. And she was so negative that I started to mimic her behavior. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I started acting like she was acting. So every day, once I realized that, I had this awakening. Every day before I walked through the door, getting ready to go work with this person, I said, do not let other people's behavior affect your behavior. That was my mantra for the day before I walked through the door. Do not let other people's behavior affect your behavior. And to my dark-sided delight, what happened was she's like, why are you being so nice to me? What are you up to? And she was kind of waiting for me to do something sneaky. I had nothing sneaky in mind, but that gave me a little secret dark pleasure. It was like a guilty pleasure. But I said, I'm just doing what I always did. And I was, and I helped her in the way I always had helped her. And I did all the things that I always had done. And I wound up firing her and she left, but she left with me being on my best behavior, not my worst. I turned that around because I couldn't let other people's behavior affect my behavior. And you're going to find you can't let other realtors affect your behavior. You can't let clients affect your behavior. You can't let the world affect your behavior when it comes to this business. You have to rise above it and you have to stay positive. Don't let other people's behavior affect your behavior. So just be the people that you are, be genuine and true to yourself. And hopefully your genuine and true self is a kind and giving person. Establish yourself as a resource. I talked about this already. Meet all these people, get to know all these people, build your list. This will build your business. Power of referrals, you're gonna have A's, B's, and C's. A's are the tip of the pyramid, raving fans. B's are people that really like you, but they don't really know you yet. And C's are everyone else that may do business with you. This is where you spend your time because how much closed business comes from here?
74%.
74.
Good job, Beth. Thank you, Michael. 74%. How much comes from here?
Less than one.
Less than 1% or less. Yeah. So where do people spend 80% of their time? Do you think?
Hopefully it ain't online.
Here. Most realtors spend 80% of their time, energy, and money here. This is where it should be. 80%
But
is
you
usually
proved us
spent
wrong,
here.
Maggie.
You
You
want to
proved us
spend
wrong.
80% of your time here. What,
Maggie,
Jens?
You proved us wrong. You did 1%, you targeted them, and you did really good in your first year.
I'm weird. My businesses have always been weird. If you are like me and you are kind of always the anomaly, you've got to be true to yourself. So I just got out of my way and I did all of the things I'm teaching you to do. And I was able to turn these into these very quickly.
You're giving me hope.
If you can do, yeah. And if you're a little bit like me and you're a little bit gregarious and you're not too afraid of doing weird things and not too afraid of talking to strangers, and I'm not afraid of ever talking to a stranger. You may have gotten this from me already. You've only known me a day and a half, but I think you're probably already getting the clue. That's what I do. This is
yeah. And sometimes you don't have a choice really when you don't know a lot of people. You're new in the area, or you have to start somewhere, and that's where you start probably.
Yeah, I lived in China. I lived in third world China for 2.5 years. I learned to speak Chinglish. because I'm not fluent, but I learned enough Chinese to be dangerous and probably say things that were unforgivable, but not know it, because it's a very tough language. It's, you know, I can do that. That's within my personality. If it's not within your personality, I didn't really have a choice. I had moved so much. I had moved 6 times in 6 years before I became a realtor. So if you've got a big sphere that's right around you, work here. If you don't, work here and be brave, be bold, be daring, and go get it. All right. This is, you have this. These are your A's, your B's, your C's, and how to reach out to them. Don't be a secret agent. I already talked about that. Let people know who you are, what you do. Get all the gear. Get some of the gear. Get a piece of gear, but always wear your name tag. Wear it all the time. Wear it everywhere you go. Carry a Howard Hanna shopping bag when you go to the store. Make people ask you, oh, are you a realtor? Okay. Popeyes. I'm going to talk about more of this on when we talk about buyers. Popeyes are a way to drop by on people and bring little small gifts. These are a ton of spots that you can go and look. So Popeye is, I might pop by with bubbles for little kids, for people I know that have them, and say, hey, I'm just popping by to say hello and drop off bubbles wrapped with a little bow. I might pop by with a little pumpkin that says, always time. Oh, I always have time to carve out. I always have time. I can always carve out time for your referrals, and drop a pumpkin off in October. There's a bazillion ideas out there, a bazillion. Popeyes should be cheap, quick. You stop by, it's a 5-minute visit and on your way. You fill up your car, you go out, you drive to all your clients, your friends, your neighbors, whatever, and you drop stuff off. But it shouldn't cost you a lot of money. So that's a great method. Buffini, I think, invented this. The book that Natalie is attempting to send you is Growing Your Sphere, and there's a bunch of handouts in there that are going to help you. Okay. We're going to talk about everything I talked about over and over again over the next few weeks. So here's your activities. They're all on one sheet. You have all got this slide. So these are your activities. So by Monday, start getting as many of these done as you can. Because you're a realtor now, you're in a profession. You have a career. You've chosen it. You have to work it. These activities are like if I went into work and they said, okay, these are the tasks that you need to accomplish today. Who's the CEO of your business?
Me.
My wife.
No, Michael, it's not even true. She may think she is, but she can be the chief financial officer, but you are the CEO.
No, I'm just teasing. She's working with me.
Good, that's awesome. But you need to be the CEO of your business, and you need to run your business like a business. If you don't run your business like a business, you don't have a business. If you don't go to work every day and do work every day, you are not working in your business. You are not working. That's a failure. Every day, I don't care how you feel, you have to get up and work your business. That's why we've moved to half days. That's why it's 2 days a week, so that in between you can be working your business and getting deals, getting started right now. Yes, Marnie.
Once we create our 250 people, the wedding list, do we put that on an Excel spreadsheet, or do we just enter it right into the CRM?
I'm going to show you right now. So hold that thought. So work on this list, okay? All right, so let's close this up. So I did, I sent you, this is for when you're going out to open houses, I gave you an Excel document, what the address is, list price, beds, bath, it features, problems, owner's name, and questions. You can add more if you want to. You can make single sheets for every property if you want to. I wanted to give you something. I also gave you some tips. There's 150 questions to help stimulate your memory about people that you may have forgotten about. So you will all have received this as well. All right, so let's go live into, this is communication pyramid. This is at the bottom, sending out general marketing, those drip campaigns up to personal meetings. So this is the communication pyramid. You want to go from information to connection to persuasion.
Excuse me,
Yes, Michelle?
I am only seeing a grid of everybody in the Zoom meeting. I haven't been able to see your screen like this whole meeting.
Can anybody else see my screen?
I see your screen, Maggie.
Yeah, I could too.
Yeah.
So everybody, I'm not sure what's happening there. Natalie?
Are you on side-by-side view? You go to
Yeah, I
view
think.
options? You do have to play with the prompts to get it.
Okay, thanks. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. I'm glad you asked because it's, don't hesitate to ask if you're having a problem because we want you to see things. All right,
Thank
so let
you.
me stop this share. And then I'm going to go into, my phone is blowing up. I'm not sure why. Hang on. Okay, nothing. All right, let me get this set up. Where am I? Go here, go here. So we're gonna go live to go Hannah. All right, let me find you guys again. There you are. Let me share my screen. There it is. Can you see my Go Hannah screen? Michelle, can you see it? All right, so Engage CRM. This is our customer relationship management software. Natalie, what time do I have till? 11, right? So first thing I'm going to show you on Engage CRM is where to get help on Engage CRM, because I think that's the most useful thing. Because whatever we teach you right now, remember, we don't expect you to remember everything. I know a couple people went back to their managers and said, oh my God, day one was so overwhelming. There was so much stuff. There's a lot of stuff. And in the next few weeks, you're going to get a lot of stuff every day. These days used to be 7 hours long. Yeah. So it's more humane now. So we're just letting you know what's there. If you don't remember everything, that's fine. There's other ways to go back and get this information. There's more information available. This is a brush. I did a fast start once, and at the conclusion, I had somebody was mad at me. He said, you didn't teach me everything I needed to know about the real estate business. I was like, in 8 classes? I don't think so. That was never our intention. So this is not our intention to teach you everything you should know about real estate. This is our intention to give you a glimpse of what's available to you from the company and to give you some tools and skills to help you do your business. So Engage CRM, if you go to your dashboard and you hit this resource center, it'll bring you to this screen. If you guys need to stand up, stretch, move around while I'm talking, I'm fine with that. See Paul moving around, that's fine. You know, if you need to stand up and stretch, it's okay. I hate sitting. I hate this. I like when I'm in the classroom marching around and getting in your faces. So we're going to go from, once I hit that resource center, I'm coming down here to more training and tutorials. And I'm going to click on Engage Tutorials and Training. I can type in a question here or a word or a phrase, and it'll bring me things. I love these. I go to Engage Videos. I was in here yesterday, there were 67, it changes. Everything you need to know and everything that I learned, and I believe Natalie, I think this is how we learned everything, is right here. Getting started is the first video you should watch. It's one of the longest ones, it's 8 minutes. I think the longest one in here is 11 minutes. Most of them are 1 to 3 minutes long. So you're going to want to watch Getting Started, My People, Campaign Overview. And just like the MLS pictures, to the right is an arrow. It will take you to all the videos that are in that line. So Getting Started, My People, and Campaigns and Touch Points are the biggest ones. So these are here for you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So if you have a question, what I suggest is that you come in here. You do one thing, watch a video, go practice it. If you didn't get it right, go back and watch the video, go back and practice it. Does that make sense? Okay. So I like to come in to engage, not here, but here through my agent tools. And there's two reasons for this. One, it's one less click and I'm lazy. Basically, I'm a very lazy person. So I like systems and processes because if you're a lazy person, you don't like to have many steps. I like to have as few steps as I can. And I like to have reliable, predictable steps that work. So if I go through my agent tools, it reminds me of where everything is that I really need. COVID agent resources, not a bad thing to have access to. I can see everything that's in here and I want you to start going in and clicking on things. What's buy side? It's okay. Click on things, see what they are. These are your tools. Engage CRM all by itself for our company. Anyone want to take a stab at what the company invested in Engage CRM? And that's just one, just Engage. Let me take a stab. How much money do you think?
20 million.
You're close. It's half that, 10. $10 million they invested in Engage CRM. So a lot of people say my broker doesn't do anything for me. I don't get anything of value from them. If you don't get anything of value from them, it's because you're not using the things of value they have offered you. Because they have spent $1 bazillion to get you access to the tools to make you successful. So I just go into Engage here, I click on it, and it's going to open right up. Takes a minute. When it opens, mine's going to say manage your dashboard. I'm going to change mine so it looks like yours. Someday it'll open. I know it will. I have faith. There we go. Coming. All right. So I'm going to be in agent mode so it looks like yours. All right. So I don't list anymore because I'm a trainer and I don't sell. So this has a 0 and it's so sad. I liked it better when it had numbers. But what you have here is your dashboard. Dashboard's just like dashboard in your car. It's got all the things you need to look at, all the things that are important that you're going to get used to using every day. So every day you're going to go into your GoHanna dashboard and you're going to go into your MLS and you're going to go into your Engage CRM every day, multiple times a day. Why? One, you're watching the market, you're watching your business, you're watching your clients. You're learning something new. When you are at work, when you have scheduled yourself to work, whether it's 9 to 5, 1 to 8, whatever it is, whatever the hours are that you're working, you need to be working in your business, watching a video, getting education, contacting a client, picking up the phone, writing a note, learning something, practicing a CRM, practicing a CMA. You guys get it? You got to be working your business. You got to have a plan. What's your plan? What's your daily plan? How are you going to plan it? And guess who's going to talk about business planning next? Jen, a little bit later today. So this has your goals. It has a to-do list, sales flow, activity feed, calendar, my listings, stay and flow, my to-do list. The to-do list, which one of the things that's really nice about it is you can also now add a task like, don't forget to pick up milk on the way home. And this goes on your Outlook calendar. How many of you are using Gmail for everything? Okay, so I'm going to tell you something you're going to hate and you're going to just be really sad for a minute. I'm a Google Universe girl. I love Google. I use everything Google. Oh, let me correct that. I used everything Google because my company uses Outlook. So what I finally did was I accepted, adapted, and moved on. I had a moment of silence for Google. Goodbye, Google. And I moved to Outlook. Here's your main reason for using Outlook: email. Errors and omissions. Your Howard Hanna email is through the company. By using the company email and safeguards, you are protected from errors and omissions. If I have people's personal information, business-related information going through my Gmail account, it is not necessarily covered. or Hotmail or AOL or Roadrunner or anything else. This is a big deal. There can be fines, there could be licensing issues. You need to be using your Howard Hanna Outlook email. So Beth, I'm sorry. It was hard for me to give up. It was really hard. And what I found out is, guess what? It's just as fine. It's just fine. It works great. It's good. And now I hardly even look at my Gmail, which I would have told you is crazy. No way. I just have everything from my Gmail forwarded to my Howard Hanna email. And I linked them that way instead of going the other way. So use your Howard Hanna email to protect yourselves. It's really important to protect yourselves and be smart and be wise. All right. So Engage CRM. What is it? Anybody got an idea? Tell me what are we going to put in here?
All your potential prospects.
Yep. All right. So everybody got a pen? I got you. I need to write this down. It's really important. So for the purposes of Engage, and this is one of the things that's a pet peeve for me and they're with them. For the purposes of Engage, a client is anyone with whom you have done business, may do business, or who may refer business to you. A prospect is anyone with whom you are actively doing business, an active buyer or an active seller. A non-client is everybody else. So in my opinion, the only people who should be non-clients, there are three categories in non-clients: collaborator, personal, and remove from Engage. Who do I remove from Engage? Dead people.
Zero.
Seriously. Do remove people who've passed, because people, their family may receive those drip campaigns and it's painful. You've got to remove them. I found that out when I was a massage therapist. In 2004, I bought a CRM for my company, and a reminder went out to somebody who I didn't know had passed, and her husband called me up and said, I guess you didn't know. Trish passed away last month. I was like, ugh. Good news was he called me and I knew, so I could send him a card. I didn't know. But you don't want him to get the next reminder. So I immediately removed them from Engage. So then to make sure those are removed. Who's a collaborator? This is done incorrectly by most of the most Howard Hanna agents. Who's a collaborator?
Another agent.
Not just another agent, Howard Hanna agents. Because Howard Hanna agents are the only agents who don't have your marketing, who may not refer anyone to you. But let's say Elizabeth works for Remax, but she doesn't work where I work, but I know her. Maybe we work. Elizabeth, what community are you in?
I'm in the Norwich area.
So I'm not in Norwich, and I'm in Rochester. So I don't work in Norwich. So maybe she's a Remax, but we met somewhere at some convention. We went to real estate school and I moved or whatever. She might say, hey, Maggie, I don't have a contact from Remax, or my company isn't there. I might want to refer some business to you for 25%. Great. So she's a potential to refer business to me. So I'm going to leave her in. So in my world, I only leave in Howard Hanna agents as collaborator. Who's personal? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Don't even use that button. It's dangerous. Everybody thinks, oh, that's my mother, that's my grandmother, that's my neighbor, that's my best friend from high school. No, because who's a client? Somebody tell me. I had to write it down.
Anyone coming to your wedding?
anyone who has done business, may do business, or who may refer business to you, has or may refer business to you. So that's everybody. So most of your contacts should be clients. What I don't like about this, those are in my world, those are prospects. Prospects, they labeled as, to my mind, they're cross-labeled. It's because this company is out of Seattle and they may have a different culture. But in our world, we call a client somebody with paperwork. For the purposes of engage, a client is a prospect. Anybody who may do business, has done business, or may refer business to me is a client in engage. Contractually, a client is somebody with whom you have paperwork, right? So that's why I had to write it down. It's really important to get this first. Really, really important. So when I'm putting in people, my people, you're going to see the opportunity to download a bunch of names and put everybody in and dump their information in. What's the name of this program?
CRM.
No, the name of it.
Engage.
Engage.
So what do I want you to do?
Engage with it.
Engage.
So guess what I want you to do? I want you to add them one at a time. So you write down that wedding list of 250. Good news here, Paul. On that champion list, how many people do we need to touch a week?
70.
Okay, so in the first days, this is easy, because what am I going to do? 7 a day. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to call him and say, hey, Paul, what's your information? Oops, let's spell your name right. Paul. I'm going to get his last name. I'm going to find out what his address is. I'm going to add his phone number. I'm going to add his email address. I'm going to say, hey, you got a work email address also? And I'm going to add that secondary. Okay. If there's a relationship, you got a spouse, a child, referred by, manager, assistant, custom, I can have a custom field. Former neighbor. I can add a relationship. I can call whatever I want. I can add, hey, Paul, where's your Facebook page? I can go to Facebook. I can find Paul. And I'm going to do this when I'm adding people, and it takes no time at all to do this, people. This takes no time at all. Paul. Yes. Senzio. And I'm going to make sure I find him, this one. And I'm going to do this. Where'd you go? There you are. And I copied it and I pasted it. And I now have Paul's Facebook page in here. I'm going to find his Twitter. I'm going to find his LinkedIn. If he doesn't have Twitter, I'm going to leave it blank. I'm going to find his LinkedIn. If you don't have LinkedIn, get LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great business site, good articles. If you're going to be on LinkedIn, put business related articles that make you look like an expert. This is a great, I do not know how all of this IT stuff works, but it's magic. All you need to know is there's some magic there. And I can go and I can go check up on Paul by coming in here and clicking on it and see what's up on his life before I call him. A little stalkery, I know. It's okay.
Quick question on that too. I don't know if it was just Kathy who recommended it, but she said if we put them in e-contacts, we can then transfer them over to Engage. I forget the advantage she said by putting them in there, but I don't know if you have a different opinion on that.
I do. And Kathy knows it. You have to do, you're the CEO of your business. You have to do it the way that you think is best.
Why do you think it would be better to put them Engage over the other way and then transfer them over?
Because when I transfer them over, I haven't touched each individual person. So when I get you in here, guess what I'm going to do? Can you guess? What am I going to do? I'm going to call you or email you or text you, depending on our relationship. If I talked to you 3 days ago, I might just text you, hey, I was just adding your information to my database. I just want to make sure I had your information correct and up to date. But right now, especially with COVID, I'm going to call you up. Hey, Doris, it's Maggie. How are you? And
I
I'm
have
gonna
a
touch base with
question.
you. Yes.
My 250 people, we've moved all over the country. So my 250 people would be everywhere. Does that matter?
Oh.
Are you?
Good, yay. Here's
No.
mine. We're local, we're global. You can get referrals anywhere in the world.
Okay. So it doesn't, you're not looking for 250 people right here where we live.
If
Okay.
you got 250 people, guess what? They still know people where you live. They're
True.
connected
Okay.
to people. The world is small.
Okay.
The world is small. I'm the Kevin Bacon of Rochester. I am 6 degrees from everybody. Remember that country club I mentioned to you? That country club had literal billionaires. I had 3 billionaire clients. 3.
Wow.
Of those 3 billionaire clients, they know heads of states in multiple countries. I am 6 degrees from everyone in the world because of those connections. I'm not kidding. I'm 6 degrees from everyone in the world because of those connections. Because of who they know and how big that network is, I literally am 6 degrees from everybody. When I lived in China, I went in and out of Hong Kong 36 times, Hong Kong airport. I never walked into Hong Kong airport and didn't run into somebody I knew. Every time, which astounded me every time. I was like, how's that possible? My husband, when he was in the military a very long time ago, he was in Karlsruhe, Germany. He's walking, or he was stationed in Karlsruhe. He'd gone to Heidelberg to visit. He's walking through the town square and he hears somebody go, Andy? Andy Knapp? Was a guy he went to high school with, who happened to be visiting Heidelberg. The world is small. It's amazing. So yeah, your contacts are good. I don't care where they are, Cheryl.
Speaking of contact, with the type of technology we have, there's no way of merging the contacts you have on your computer system with the Engage. That's
Sure
all I
there
keep
is.
thinking.
Of course there is. Yeah, of course there is. You can
So how
use
do we
it.
do that for those on this call?
Well, we can use what's called a CSV file, comma separated value. It's an Excel document. There's not a universal one. They're all different. You can download a template which will be like last name, first name, email. Every single one has it in a different order. You can put all your contacts in and bring them in to Engage through a CSV file. You can, and then you can upload them. I don't recommend it. I really don't. This is where I'm saying I really recommend you put them in one at a time. Because if you can do 10 or 20 a day for 10 days, you got 100 to 200 people in your system. And if you have stopped and called every single one of them or emailed or texted, you now have a relationship block. Anybody ever been to a Jewish cemetery? So in a Jewish cemetery, every time you come, you put a stone on top of the headstone. And so you can see how many people have visited. So someone who is beloved, there's just all these little stones all over. Think of it like these stones. You're adding a stone every little time. Think of a giant jar, you put a penny in every time you talk to a client. Yes, Jen.
This database is going to, harken back to those who know you, like you, trust you, and we'll talk more about that in, an hour or so. But, Doris, how many people do you have in your database? Like hundreds?
Yeah, several hundred. And I'm very social and have lots of contact with all of them. But
Okay.
I'm just trying to be efficient.
Yep. And I think there is actually a way, and we can talk offline about that. We actually have a third-party vendor who was very happy to take the time to merge it all if you use their newsletter. And, the guy who even sells it is just like, we'll do all that merging for free. And so anyway, that's a conversation to have offline.
Okay.
But, for folks who don't necessarily have a large database, that's okay. And, to Maggie's point, it's almost better. I mean, Doris, you're an anomaly to have, 200 plus people who you feel you'd rate as like an A or an A plus potential client. And that's a whole nother thing that we'll talk about, is sort of rating the people in your database. So, for people starting out, this can be a thing that's super overwhelming to people. So that's why we sort of, rule of thumb is, put a couple of people in a day, so you can get familiar with it. It doesn't seem so overwhelming, because when we first rolled this out, most people were like, I've got 200 people, this is too overwhelming, and they just didn't do anything. So we're sort of, the pendulum has sort of swung. So most people getting into real estate, it's best to do it a little drippy, a little bit at a time. But that's not to say, everybody's got these lists, and marketing can make up a great thing that you could do a blast to say, hey, I'm in real estate now. Here's my contact information. And that's going to be separate of this.
But I will tell you, Doris, I have an agent who had 9,000 contacts. She's been in the business for 30 years. So she had 9,000 contacts. She wanted to dump them all into Engage. And I said, have you scrubbed your list? Well, she hadn't. She didn't know who was passed, who had moved. She didn't have emails for everybody. She didn't have phone numbers for everybody. And guess what I told her? Put them in one at a time. So some people did not do that. And then they got really, really frustrated with the system because they had just dumped all these names into them. If you've only got 500 names, you could do 500 names in 5 days easily.
And also you got to know, those people in your database, who has relatives who are in the real estate business, who will never use you. They may know you, like you, trust you, but they're never going to use you because their sister-in-law is an agent with XYZ company. And so that's information that you need to know before you start, spending your valuable time and money.
So what I recommend is that you go backwards in time, not alphabetically. So put people in the people that you've been in contact with most recently, and then go backwards in time. And then I know you hate this. I think this is more efficient because you are adding those relationship blocks, this is what it's about. There's a lot of things that are old school that are still the best way to build this business. And that best way is to be in contact with clients in a personal way. A bunch of names and addresses and email addresses are not building relationship. It's about building relationships. So, and I want you to be making how many phone calls a day?
70 buyers and sellers.
That's for champions. And if it's 10 a week, if you just want to have a small business, you just want to get your feet wet. So it's up to you. But if you want to have a robust business, it's about reaching out and touching people and talking to them. So I say do it one at a time. I did it that way with myself, and I had I really believe in this method, but you are the CEO. You can do it, and we do have methods for you to do that. And your admins in your offices should be able to help you with that. Everyone's admin in their office should be able to help them with that. All right, so people is the most important thing. There's a couple things I want to show you. Goals. So these are the tabs that you can go on. So we're going to go on to goals. If I want to set my sales volume for the year, when I have a green line under the word goals, if I come over to this little gear for settings and I click on that, this shows up. Set sales volume goal. I can now set my sales volume goal. If I'm on just the dashboard and I come to the gear, it's not there. I have to be on goals, have the green line under the word goals, and set my settings. oops, wrong button. I can set my sales volume goal there. As soon as I'm under goals, that shows up. You see that? So remember what I showed you very first thing, Engage Resource Center. All of this information is there. This is how I learned to use Engage. You can learn one thing at a time. So there's a couple things that are really important. You're going to want to have your tasks organized. So if I go to settings from my dashboard, Engage settings, I'm going to want to go to my task manager and my buyer and seller custom plans. Talk to your managers about what kinds of things you want to have in your plan. When you first open this, it's going to have 69 or 67 tasks that you may not want all of those. So you can remove tasks, you can add tasks, you can put different things in, and these are going to be transactional tasks. So there'll be one for buyers and one for sellers. We can't add another list right now. This is all we have. This used to bug the bananas out of me, this due on day 1 through whatever it is, 45 or something. I now just have prospecting tasks in my days 1 through 4. Active tasks, I put it like day 10 through 14. And pending tasks, I have it like days 45 through 60. I don't worry about this anymore. It used to bug me. I don't worry about it anymore because once I actually have a transaction, I actually use the transaction to put in actual calendar dates. So just assign a day. I don't care if they're all number 1. As long as when you have an actual transaction with a, you can put in actual calendar dates. Does that make sense? It doesn't, does it? I see glaze.
There's a ton of deep dive training on this.
There is. But go ahead, Shauna.
So when you set those days on your front screen on your dashboard, it's going to pop up on day 1, day 4, day 7 of what you should do for that day. Is that what you're?
Yeah, so this is basically a template for the tasks I'm going to perform through a listing or through a buyer's purchase offer. So once I got over the whole day thing, and really this was a struggle for me, as you can tell, because I'm still annoyed by it. Once I got over that, once I realized that as soon as I have a transaction under a client, I have a client and now I'm adding a transaction, I put my transaction, my literal transaction in front of me, and I put in all the actual calendar dates. Then I don't have to worry about the dates. Now it's showing up on my calendar on the appropriate dates. So this is just a template.
And with this information though, these tasks, your client may accelerate when you do those tasks though, correct? So that means creating the buyer's presentation might be on day 2 or 3 versus day 15 because
could be on day 1. Could have walked through the door, might be on day 1. Absolutely. So yeah, so those will change. But again, if I've got a live client in front of me, now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to edit, because now I got a client and I'm adding a transaction. Now I'm just going to put calendar days in. And so I don't get hung up on these days anymore. It really annoyed me at first, and I'm over it. I just got over it. So what's my motto in real estate? Accept, adapt, and move on. You're going to be a lot of things that you find that aren't the way you would do it. So what? You'll figure it out and just adapt. How are you going to adapt to it? Because you'll hear me say this again and again too. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. So don't get your knickers in a twist over the small stuff. Just don't. It's a waste of your time and your energy. So I wasted some energy on this. And then I said, okay, what was the point of that? Because once I had a transaction and I was actually using it, I was like, oh, this isn't even really very relevant. So honestly, I don't think they need this right now, but whatever. So you're going to want to have, like with my buyers, I'm going to have a schedule a meet and greet, and I'm going to have a loan officer. I'm going to get a pre-approval. I'm going to set up their needs and wants list. I'm going to set up tours for houses. I'm going to I might send a thank you note, or I might send them a packet. I might do a pop-by. So whatever the tasks are associated, and guess what? Yours are going to change. As you become a realtor and you start doing your business, you can come in and edit these tasks. Oh, you know what? I'm not doing this, but I am doing that. You know, so you're going to come in and edit these. So if I wanted to add a task that's not here, I can create a new task. I can give it a name. And then it'll just be there. It'll be saved as my custom tasks. Okay. And I can add it to a day if I want. If I want to, these are the list of possible tasks that they already have in. They asked hundreds of realtors what was on their lists. So there's an endless number of possibilities. But if there's one here and you call it something else and it makes more sense to you by that other name, create a new task named the way you think. Okay? So you're going to add your people one at a time. Even Doris, who's not fully bought in yet.
I have bought in. I will do it one at a time.
I really think that you'll thank me later. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day you'll thank me for that advice. So you're going to add your people, and you're going to add as much information as you can possibly get. And every single time you talk to them, you're going to go into that client, you're going to add a note about your conversation, add the date and add the note. And I'll show you how to do that too. You're going to go into your tasks because it's important to have your tasks lined up before you start to add transactions. Because once you add the transactions, it's more cumbersome to edit the tasks. It's easier to edit the tasks before you have a transaction. Does that make sense? It's like a recipe. It's easier for me to create a recipe if I created an ingredients list. I went to the store and I bought everything, made sure I had everything, then I just say, oh, I'm going to make bouillabaisse. And then I look at the recipe. Oh, look, I don't have fish heads. Because you got to have fish heads if you're going to make bouillabaisse. I don't have all this seafood. I don't have fennel. I don't have anise. I don't have these ingredients. And I got to go to the store. If I come back and I keep looking at my ingredients and go, oh boy, I still don't have that. And I kind of keep going back and forth. Okay. It's like a recipe, but get all the ingredients first. I get them the way I want them. Then I can make that dish better, faster, more efficiently. So the efficient way is get your tasks ordered first, get your people in one at a time. All right. So that was here under the gear, engage settings. And then this line shows up. And I know that it's, come on. When any one of the boxes turns green, then I know that I can go into these. And there's so much in here. Natalie, where are you? I've lost you.
I'm right here.
When are we doing engage again? Are we?
No, I think this was the overview of engage.
Okay, so we will have enrichment classes on the tools, and we'll make sure we have something on the schedule for February. So I'm making myself a note. Engage. And what we do is we break it down into pieces, parts. We do small bits at a time. Engage class.
And also on our the Howard Hanna Education YouTube channel, all of our previous trainings have been recorded and are posted there. So if you want to dive a little deeper on your own, it's all there for you to check out.
But I would highly recommend you go to that resource center and watch those little short videos and do one little step at a time, because it's the easiest, bite-sized pieces. It's really the smallest bites you can get, and it's from the experts. Everything we learned was from them. They are the experts. They created it. So I would recommend you go in there. So your people, my people, you're going to have a calendar. The calendar is, this is new. I haven't seen that with the little periscope. I can put in birthdays, anniversaries, house anniversaries, and transactions. If, as I'm adding my clients, I get all of these, those dates will come up on my calendar. Okay, and that's great, because if I know a birthday is coming up and I've set my settings so that I get a notice 7 days ahead, I can send that out so it reaches them on their birthday, an actual card. Because a card in the mail is a whole bunch better than like happy birthday. Right? We've, let's take those extra steps. Go to the dollar store, buy some birthday cards, buy some anniversary cards, buy some blank note cards. Or if you're a stationery snob, go buy some nice stationery and invest in it, because it is an investment anymore. You can't buy Crane stationery for it's expensive. It's a good investment though, I think. And then your calendar will show up with your activities. Goals, we talked about, you're going to come in once you're on the goals tab. You can come in here to settings. This is something I want you to go back to your manager for. So the first thing you're going to do is set a goal for the year. So let's say you think you can do $1 million, and for whatever reason, your manager, having met you and worked with you a little bit, thinks, you know what, I think your goal should be 1.5 or 2 or 2.5 million based on your sphere of influence. When I started at Howard Hanna, I met a girl, she lived in a $700,000 house. She knew people at 3 different country clubs and the yacht club. Her sphere of influence is 400,000 and above. Her first goal was 5 million. Why? Her sphere of influence, she only had to sell a couple of houses. I'd have to sell 100 houses to do what she could do in her first year because of her sphere of influence. And she was very, 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 very active in her community. So if your manager says, I think it should be 2 or 2.5 million, I do want you to ask he or she couple questions. Why do you think that, and how are you going to help me? I'm not asking them to give you leads, but how are they going to support you? And what are they going to ask from you? So for me to get that level of support from you, what do you expect from me? And your goal shouldn't be comfortable. What did Jen tell you on day 1 about comfort?
Get used to feeling uncomfortable.
Get used to feeling uncomfortable. If you have a goal and it's here, and you can easily reach here, that's all you're going to reach. Everybody know the analogy of, does everybody know the story about a flea in a box? Fleas in a box? All right, so if you take a bunch of fleas and you put them in a box, they're going to leap up over the top of the box. Fleas can jump a tremendous, it's an incredibly high, from the size of their bodies, it's incredibly high. If you put a lid on that box and you put keep the fleas in the box, they'll keep bumping against the lid. And then when you take the lid off, guess what? Guess what happens to the fleas? Somebody tell me.
They stop jumping.
They still jump. They jump just to where before they hit that top. They stop jumping over. So is there a lid on your box?
And you're muted.
Me?
No, Jennifer.
Oh.
No, I was just going to say, stretch yourself and stretch your goals.
Stretch yourself. Be a little uncomfortable. Go a little outside of where you think. Because if you're always reaching, I'll tell you what happens to most people who reach. They go a little further than they think they can. But if you only go to where it's safe, a lot of times you don't even get there. But they generally don't exceed it. So I need to get a little uncomfortable and reach. So I want you to have these conversations with your manager. Ask them what they're going to do and how they're going to help you reach your goals, and then ask them what they expect from you. So if you're going to run your business like a business and you're going to schedule your hours, which is actually, Jen, I like this order better. I think it's better. I think this worked out better. She's going to talk to you about the business planning that goes with this, that matches up to this, and why it's important to have these goals to reach up higher. Campaigns, these are those drips I talked to you about. And the drips only work on clients if I'm saying, hey, Jamie, this is Maggie, how are you? How you doing today? How's your family? How's your life? What's going on? Christopher, how's everything going? How are you?
Doing great.
Just saying his name, he smiled. Did you guys catch that? I said Christopher, Christopher smiled. All I did was say his name. Tim, how are you? you just feel different when people know you. Cheryl's smiling. She's thinking about that. Deborah's considering. Deborah, you need to read, I can tell already, you need to read a book called Quiet, about introverts and why they're the heart of the economy. Quiet is a fantastic book. You should all read it, actually. But I can tell just by watching, you're an observer and you're a thinker. And I've been watching you. She's an observer and a thinker. She hasn't missed a thing today, not a thing. So read Quiet. I'll get the author's name for you later. Yes, I know. So you have your dashboard, people one at a time, calendar, goals, campaigns. We're going to go into, there are a bunch of Wednesday webinars on campaigns and how to use them. These are those drips. These are super easy to set up. And Natalie and I can both, you can reach out to us if you're having trouble setting these up. These are super easy. You can go, I'm going to go back to here because we're going to wrap up and then we're going to take about like a 5-minute break between. I'm going to go back to this resource center for a second because campaigns is newer to us and they made it really easy. You don't even have to go into the videos. Campaigns overview is right here. Setting up a new campaign is right here. You can print out a PDF to go with it if you want, and you can watch the video. They're super, super simple. Once you have your people in with their information, these are super simple to set up. And if you set up the ones that are seasonal, they have like 12 or 18 that go out every single, on a regular basis, those are painless. You don't have to think about them. Once you got them set up, they're going. So Engage will help you build your business. I want to tell you a statistic and then I'll stop. The people who used Engage, this is a real number, Howard Hanna agents who used Engage, their businesses grew by, real number, 54%. It's a huge number, 54%. So we want you to grow your businesses. We want you to be successful. We want you to reach your contacts. So from what I talked about earlier on cultivating your sphere, you have an activity list. It needs to be done by Monday. Engage CRM. Add this to your activities. Go in and check out. I want you to go to your manager and set your goal. I want you to start adding people one at a time. If you don't know how to do that, go in and watch the video. And then I want you to, once you get some people in there, set up a campaign. And then we'll drip on you some other stuff. All right, it is 11 o'clock straight up. So I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to pause the video or the